The top of the morning show. I'm your host, Jerry Gietka, with my very, very special guest, my mother, Catherine Gietka. Say hello, Mom.
Hello.
Now, we have Mom here today primarily because it's a special time for her, as she's going to be inducted into the Women's Heritage Center. And we're just going to talk about what brought that about and why that's going to be happening. Mom, I know you're very proud of your Polish heritage. Why don't you tell us why and how that all started? Were you born in this country, or were you born in Poland?
No, I was born in this country, but my mother was born in Poland, and she was 14 when she came to America. And when I was born, she didn't know how to speak English yet, so it was all Polish at home. So I didn't learn how to speak English until I went to school. I knew a few words, but, I couldn't speak it fluently till I was 7 years old. So that's why people think that I was born in Poland, because I was, Polish until I was 7 years old. And then I did learn English in school. And
which school was that?
Holy Rosary, and it was all Polish in school. The neighborhood was all Polish, the school was Polish, the church, the stores, so we spoke Polish all the time. So I did learn a few words of English from the children outside when I played outside. And when I went to school, I knew a few words of English, but I had to learn how to speak it in school.
Well, Mom, it sounds like your experience was not much different than the immigrant populations today, when people come into this country and have to find their way and find a way to get involved with other people. You had a lot of brothers and sisters. How many?
It was 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls. And we were very poor. And it was during, when I was about 5, I think, it was during the Depression. So that was really hard. I remember we only had butter and bread to eat for our meals, 3 meals. And the other people had lard and bread. So we thought we were really rich, because we had butter and bread. And the whole neighborhood, was poor. Some of the babies died because they didn't have any milk. They couldn't afford to buy milk for their babies. But we had a bakery next door, and each one of us, whoever got, old enough to work there, which was about 8 years old, we went to work in a bakery next door. And they didn't pay you with money. They paid you with stale bread and buns. But we thought we were rich because we had that to eat. And that was, really great.
Well, Busha also had any number of jobs as well. What did Busha do?
She worked in a cannery. And she had to go to work early in the morning.
Oh, I didn't mention Busha is the Polish word for grandmother. So my grandmother, my mother's mother.
Right. And she had to go to work early in the morning and came home late at night. And when she came home at night, she worked for a tailor shop, sewing pants. So my sister Ida, she was 5 years older than me, so she was big enough to carry the pants to the tailor shop a couple blocks away. They were heavy, because I helped her carry a couple of them. They were men's pants and they were winter pants. They were very heavy. And we would carry the pants to the tailor shop and back to the house. And Busha would sew the whatever she had to do on them, and then she would get paid maybe 50 cents. And she worked all day at the cannery and skinning tomatoes and packaging string beans in a can, you know, all kinds of vegetables they had in a cannery.
Well, that was part of your growing up as well. You used to go out to the field sometimes and bush up. Had you all picking vegetables and stuff?
Well, when in the summertime when the school was out, we would go out to the bean country, and the children
The bean
would,
country all the way up in Pennsylvania, yeah.
yeah, it was in Bel Air, Pennsylvania, the Hungerford, Pennsylvania, which isn't there anymore, but it was when we went bean picking. And the children would make enough to pay tuition for school. You know, when we worked all summer. And I remember one summer, I was old enough to work in a cannery, and we had to make 3 buckets an hour. And everything over 3 buckets, we would get a nickel. And I saw a ring in the shop, and it was $12. And I worked so hard all summer just to make, you know, the 4th, 5th bucket so I could make a nickel and you know, a couple nickels. And I did make the $12 through the whole summer. And today I still have that ring. I paid $12 for it, and I had it assessed one time, and it was over $1,000. So that was a good investment. That was my first business.
Well, the things you're talking about doing sound like lots of hard work, but every time I've heard you tell stories about this, you always talk as if you were having fun when you were doing it.
We did have fun. We were so tired after working all day, but then there were some boys that knew how to play the guitar. You know, the farmers' sons, they would come down at the corner store, and we would sit on the lawn, and they would play the guitar.
You were already a teenager by then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was about 12. And they would come and they would sing, they would play the guitars, and a couple of the older, you know, girls and boys, they know how to dance, and they would dance. So we did have some fun at night. We were never too tired to have fun.
So even though you were poor, you didn't know it?
Because we were happy.
Okay.
You know, we had a happy life. We all got along together, and we worked, and we were good, you know, people. Didn't get into trouble, except for one time. we weren't supposed to go further away from the house that we did. And we were trying to do business, you know, we were big business. I must have been about 8 years old then. And we went around to all the stores, and we gathered all the cardboard boxes and newspapers, and somebody had a little wagon. We put everything on a little wagon, and we went down to the junkyard to sell it. And we got 2 cents for it. And it was about 6 of us, and, you know, some of the neighbors' children and all. And we didn't know how to share the 2 cents. You know, between 6 of us. So we went to a candy store, and we bought these little jelly hats. They were like 15 for a penny. So we got 30 of them. So each one of us got 5 of those jelly hats. They lasted.
And you were the one that gave them out, right? You were the accountant to figure it all out?
No, the older one was. I was the youngest one. And those jelly beans, like something like jelly beans, and they lasted us for hours. You know, because we didn't chew them, we just let them melt slowly. Because we very seldom got a candy or anything. And coming home, we were all sweated up, and it was a soda company going through the alley. We passed that soda company. I remember it was a Yoo-Hoo company. And this man was looking out the window, and he saw us, you know, working so hard and all sweated up, and he gave us a bottle of soda. So he couldn't, you know, give us more than 1 bottle. So everybody took a sip, and we were satisfied with just a little sip of soda, because we never knew what soda was like. And that was a treat, a real good treat.
We're here talking to Catherine Gietka, my mother. I'm the host, Jerry Gietka. And we're talking about her growing up and her Polish heritage, for the most part, to begin with. Mom, tell us a little bit more about growing up in the neighborhood. You talked about meeting these boys. Did you go to dances and things?
We had a Polish home on Broadway, and when we were about 16, we were allowed to go to the dances in Polish home.
But not alone, right?
So every week they had a dance. Not alone, was mostly girls. It was during the war all the boys were drafted, and wasn't very many boys going there. It was mostly all girls. So we learned how to dance Polish dances, and when the boys came back from the service, then, you know, we would dance. We knew how to dance by then.
So they had Polish music?
They had Polish music.
You know, I think we've got a clip of a Polish band that we're going to put in right here. And watch this, you'll love it. We'll be right back after you watch this clip. Welcome back, everybody. Mom, what did you think of that Polish music?
Well, the one Polish band that was playing there, he would always, the leader, he would always say to me, my schoolmate, you were in my class. And I didn't remember him being in my class until one time he had a break during intermission. And we sat down and we were talking, and then we named the nuns that were teaching us. And I said, now I know why I don't remember. You were a year behind me. I wasn't in your class.
So he was a younger man.
He was a year younger than me. And he kept saying, you were in my classroom. And I had a good memory, so I knew he wasn't. And then we finally straightened it out. So,
Well, talking about these men in your life, tell us about how you met Dad, our father. Was that at one of these dances?
no, I met him after Bush had made me quit my job and go to the bean country because I wasn't 18 yet. And when I came back from the bean country, I didn't have my old job, so I had to go to Bethlehem Steel. They were hiring. And he worked at Bethlehem Steel. So when I worked there, I saw him, and he was coming down the aisle, and I had just lost one of my friends. He was in the Army, he was 19, and as soon as he went overseas, he was killed. And your father looked just like him. And I thought I was looking at a ghost. He was like his twin brother. So that's where I met him and worked. But I didn't talk to him for about a year because he had another girlfriend at the time. And when he broke up with the girl, then I started talking to him, and we started going out, and that's how I met him.
So you went to some of these dances?
No, we had a...
Did Dad dance? I don't know if I ever saw Dad dance.
He was a good dancer. He went every weekend. They had a place on Boston Street. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a nightclub. Everybody used to go to that nightclub, and he went there every weekend. So then when we started going out, I started going there to dance with them. And
well, Mom, you and Dad went together for a little while, and then finally you fell in love and got married, had a family, and you went back to the old neighborhood, right?
Right.
When you bought a house, right? How did you manage to do that? You were the accountant, and you were the one good with all the money. You, at least from the stories you've told me, you said that you used to take care of all the money.
I did. Your father spent money like it was water out of the spigot.
Right. But you were the saver.
I was a miser.
You bought a house, and you had to fix it up, right?
It was a rat trap. And we did fix it up. And he was a handyman, so he did most of the work himself.
Which was typical in those days.
And I did a lot of work. I could paper hang and paint, and I could lay tile on the floor. I could do the walls, the conga wall. They used to call it conga wall. And now it's paneling. So I did all that. I figured everybody else could do it. They weren't born doing it, so I can learn. I learned how to do all of that.
Now, what I remember most about growing up is the house where we lived near Pratt and Ann
Street.
And it was a 3-story house.
Yes.
And we always had people living with us.
And we had to have them living with us because we didn't have any money to buy the house with. So he had an old car, and we needed $200. The house was $3,500. And he sold the car. We bought the house, and it was 3 apartments. So we had Aunt Irene on the 3rd floor. It was family. And Chuchiati on the 2nd floor, and we had the 1st floor.
Chachi is the Polish word for aunt, so it was our Aunt Ida, your sister.
So we had the 1st floor, which was convenient because they only had 1 child on the 3rd floor, and Ida didn't have any children, and I had 3 children, so 1st floor was better for me to have, and the rent paid for the house. So after he sold the car, he had to take the street car to work for a while, and then he bought another old car, and he knew how to fix cars. So he fixed it, and then he had another, car to go to work with. So that's how we bought the house.
Yeah, I remember Dad always had a car when we were young.
We took a loan out for 15 years, and I paid it off in 6.5 years. So I always paid a double payment so that I could save the interest.
And it was always family living with us, because I remember Aunt Irene moved out, and then Aunt Betty moved in.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then Aunt Ida moved out, and who moved in?
Nobody, because we moved.
Okay.
Uncle Walter had the confectionery store, and he died.
The same neighborhood, just down the street.
2 doors away.
Right.
It was only 1 house in between us. So when Uncle Walter died, I bought the store, and I didn't need any money then, because the house didn't have any mortgage on it, so that was a down payment for the store.
Use the collateral.
And it was the assets. You need assets. So that bought the store, and the store was already a going business. And from day one, I made enough money to pay for the mortgage on the store.
Now what, it was mainly because of Uncle Walter dying that you took over the store?
Well, I was thinking of getting a divorce from your father. We weren't getting along too well. And I was thinking ahead, and I thought, if I buy the store, I can stay home with the children, 3 children, and I could stay home, and I didn't have to go to work and leave the children home, save me a babysitter, fee. I didn't have to pay for a babysitter, and I could run the store and keep the children right there with me.
So here it is, the late 1950s. You're a single mother with 3 children to raise, and you ended up in a business.
And I thought I would only stay there about 5 years, and then I could, get another job, because you were 12, and Bernadette was 10, Linda was 7. So then I could go, you were all in school, and I thought 5 years I can go out and get another job. But the store was doing so well that I stayed there for 35 years.
We've talked about any number of things growing up during the Depression, finally getting you through your teen years and getting married and having 3 children as a single mother and a business person. Tell us a little bit more about your business and how you got into that.
Well, the way I got into it is because it was a building we could live in.
Yeah, we lived over top of the candy store.
And I didn't have to go out to work. I could stay home and have the children with me. And I planned it, and we did get along. We didn't get along too well, but we got along enough that I could take and plan ahead. So I took all his money off. He gave me his paycheck every week, and I saved it up for a whole year. And when I saved up enough for your education and their education, then I let him keep his money, because I didn't want to have any hard feelings. And I said, if I keep all his money...
Well, that must have worked, because as we'll find out in a little bit, you remarried Dad 40 years later after the divorce.
35 years later.
I was close. I was close. So, but I want to talk a little bit more about growing up in the store and how you became a businesswoman as such. You didn't have the training for that. You only went to 7th grade.
Yes, but I did have experience, because while Walter was in the hospital, I took care of the business. And Bushwick didn't know too much about it, and my sisters didn't have much time. So they helped out a little bit, but I think I did most of it. I did all the ordering. I did I did everything in the store.
Well, you knew everything because you had us working in the store at times. How much trouble was that for you?
It wasn't too much trouble because you were good kids and you listened and you helped out.
So like your generation.
When I went in to cook, then you watched the store.
Yes, I remember that.
And then
But you started working when you were 7 or 8 years old.
I worked in a bakery.
Right. But you were nice to us because you didn't make me go to work till I was 12.
Right. And I think Bernadette was about 14.
Yeah, she got to take a break until she was 14 years old before she actually had to work. I don't know if that's true or
Linda
not.
was 11.
Okay.
And
we worked in the store. And
you helped out, and then you helped out around the house. You did what you could, and then
I remember doing painting. I remember that.
Yeah. And a couple years later, Busha came back to live with us, and then she did, a lot of the work. So she helped out. And it was easier when she came back.
So we grew up as living over top of the candy store, and for the most part, you talk about growing up poor. I don't really remember us as being poor. I mean, we didn't necessarily have a whole lot, but we always had what we needed.
You had candy and ice cream and chips. What more could you want?
That's right. What more could a kid want?
Right.
But I never felt like we were poor as such. But again, it was in the neighborhood, down in what's now called Upper Fells Point, because we were at the corner of Pratt and Ann Street, our little candy store. And I never felt deprived as a child. And I don't think you did either, even though you grew up during the Depression. I think Busha took care of that, and you took care of us.
Right. Well, we were young. We didn't know what it was to have a lot.
That's true.
What you don't have, you don't miss.
That's true. That's very true. All right. So we grew up. You sent me away to school. I eventually went to private school, went to college, and graduated. And Sis went away to a private school as well to become a nun.
Right. She was going to be a nun.
And you stayed in the store for how many years?
35 years.
35 years. What finally got you out of the store?
Well,
out of the neighborhood, for that matter.
A guy come in one day, and he tried to rob me, came in with a gun, and I started to give him the money, but I thought, it'll take me a year to make up that money. So I didn't give it to him, but I always told everybody that I had a rifle in the other room, and if they ever try to get me, I'm going to get them first, and their brains are going to be all over the store. But when he finally came in, and I thought of it, I thought, I can't stand the sight of blood. So I couldn't do anything, that drastic. So I walked into the other room and made him think that I had a rifle. And I heard the gun click, but I had a statue of St. Teresa on a shelf. And I looked at St. Teresa, and I heard something, but I didn't know what. I was afraid to turn around. And when I went in the other room, I picked up the phone real fast and called the police. And Brian, my grandson, was in the other room. And I said, don't go in the doorway. And he said, why?
Now he went in the doorway and said, why, right?
He said, why? And I said, go away. And he said, why? Nobody's here. I was afraid to look myself because that gun really scared me. And I had to call the police 3 times before they would come. And the guy did run out. When I looked at that statue of St. Teresa, that's when I heard the noise, and he ran out of the store. Instead of him scaring me, I scared him. And then Bernadette already bought the store from me and the building, and she was sleeping because she had night work. And she came downstairs and she said, what's all the noise about? And then she found out that, I was, after 35 years,
and
I was close to getting, killed. He could have shot me.
And it was right after that and I call my sister Bernadette Sis, that Sis made you close the store, right? Finally.
She didn't make me. She just took the key and closed it. It was her store. She paid for it already, but she never did open it. So that was the end of the store. But
it was the end of the store. But it wasn't the end of the story.
Before I closed the store, I knew who the guy was because he had a bandana on his face, but I saw his clothes, and I think I knew him. So every morning I walked past his house, and he had a big dog, and I'm so scared of dogs. but the dog didn't scare me at all. I walked past his house and gave him the worst look you could give anybody. Within a week, he moved away. So he didn't get me, I got him.
Well, I'm glad that all worked out,
Yes.
and it wasn't a worse story to tell, and that you're still here to tell a story. So I think we're going to say goodbye at this point in time, and say thank you for coming and talking to everyone. We're going to say goodbye to the top of the morning show. Wave goodbye. There we go.